These are 3 times the main character in cartoons was defeated. The first is Mark Grayson from In the episode Where I Really Come From, which is the last episode of the first season of the show, Mark discovers that Omni-Man was the one responsible for the death of the Guardians, and Omni-Man tells Mark the truth about Viltrum and their ultimate goal to conquer Earth and the rest of the universe, explaining his responsibility and duty to prepare Earth for the arrival of Viltrum. Now visibly in disbelief, Mark thinks someone is controlling his father and forcing him to do and say these things, but Omni-Man reassures him that he isn't being controlled and it really is him. And after a bit more arguing and discussion, Mark is left with only 2 choices: join his father in his quest to take over Earth, or put his dukes up and attempt to stop him. And he obviously chooses door number 2, but not without consequence, because Omni-Man attacks him instantly and hits him towards the ground, where he follows and combos him, even launching his son into the air far away from him. And as he catches up to Mark and starts punching him again, he is interrupted by 2 jets summoned by Cecil. So to prove to Mark that humans are inferior, he decides to make an example of the 2 pilots, successfully eliminating one of them, but loses the chance to chase the other when Mark interferes. And this is when the 2 characters get to talk for a brief moment before Omni-Man absolutely clobbers Mark. And I mean damn, he launches him straight through the buildings of Chicago and into the concrete, where he crashes through multiple vehicles until he is able to control his momentum. And after realizing the amount of damage and ruined lives his father has produced, Mark decides to fight back, and this time he's actually landing. He might actually be hurting him. Oh wait, never mind. Omni-Man just straight rams him through the ground onto some train tracks, and yeah, I can't even show what he does, so just try to use your imagination on this one. So after this infamous scene, he just continues to beat down Mark, striking him over and over and over and over again. And he continues to do so until Mark is seen fighting for his life, just trying to breathe. And after one last final rage from Omni-Man, yelling and asking his son what will he have left to remember after 500 years, Mark simply replies with, "You." And this actually brings sadness to Omni-Man's heart, forcing him to look at the damage he has created with his hands, now filled with anger, sorrow, and confusion. Omni-Man blasts into space with tears in his eyes, leaving his son in a physically and mentally broken state, left to be saved by Cecil and his team, as they hurry to take his defeated body back to the hospital. Yeah, this moment was pretty insane to say the least, but it wasn't the only time the main character was left grasping for their life on the brink of death. In the last episode of the 4th season of Rick and Morty, titled Star More Return of the Jedi, Rick is seen trying to save his daughter and her clone, who were both captured by Tammy, and are now being held in a cell inside a ship. But being Rick's daughters, they do manage to escape pretty quickly, and both set out to defeat their father. So while Rick is running through the ship, he comes across a chamber and triggers an alarm with red lights, and a door with a red X begins to open, revealing a mechanic bird person standing behind the door, who is now named Phoenix Person, or PP for short. Not really sure who's gonna call him that, but it is what it is. So after Phoenix Person asks Rick where Tammy is, Rick tells him that he got rid of her, and although she was responsible for his life being taken, Phoenix Person is still angry at Rick and immediately begins to attack him, landing an early shot on Rick, driving him to fight back by striking Phoenix Person to the ground, until he reveals a drill behind his nose and goes straight for Rick's heart. But Rick does manage to protect himself from his attack before he's kicked away, and after a moment of chatter, the 2 go right back to throwing paws. Both sides landing some pretty decent hits, but Phoenix Person does show the superiority of his defense, taking far less significant damage from Rick, but he does continue to fight, even managing to grab a hold of his back, forcing Phoenix Person to lose control of his direction. And as Beth and Space Beth slowly near Rick, we see Phoenix Person and Rick crash to a wall, and although Rick manages to get on his feet first and land a few hits, Phoenix Person quickly recovers and blasts Rick with many lasers, chopping him to the ground and even exposing some of his insides, which I obviously can't show. And as Rick takes one last final drink, Phoenix Person charges up his final attack, ready to blast until he is shot by Space Beth. And after a few insults shared from both sides, Phoenix Person makes the first move, shooting the 2 with lasers, which they do manage to dodge. But as he gets closer, he destroys Beth's space gun and interrupts Space Beth's phasing technology. So with the 2 down, he makes his way towards Rick to finish him off, but he's interrupted again, but by Tammy this time, who's acting pretty strange considering the damage she's taken. And Phoenix Person points this out. But as Tammy tries to reassure him that she's fine, she accidentally falls, revealing that Jerry is the one behind this act. And you can probably imagine what Phoenix Person thinks of this. Yeah, he's obviously not happy. He's immediately filled with rage and begins to charge up his ultimate attack. But before he is able to release it, Space Beth shuts him off by clicking the off switch on his back. Yeah, I don't know who made this or why they thought this was a good idea, but it seemed everything worked out in the end for the Smith family. Well, except for Rick, who admitted defeat and was prepared to be disintegrated. But the last and final moment we are going to cover occurs in the original Teen Titans cartoon. In the 5th episode of the 3rd season titled Haunted, Robin is seen opening a box which holds some of Slade's items like his mask, and is enveloped by dust. Convinced that Slade is still out there, Cyborg decides to step in and attempts to tell Robin that Slade is gone, but they get interrupted by the sound of the alarm. So the Titans rush out to confront the problem and realize that Cinderblock is the one behind the havoc, and they quickly begin to attack him. During the struggling battle, Robin is left vulnerable and is launched off the cliff they were fighting on from one of Cinderblock's ground attacks. He obviously survives because, well, he's Robin, but when he begins to get on his feet, he sees a shadow dash past him, and he is able to get a glimpse of Slade, who runs away deeper into the woods, with Robin chasing right behind him, who even throws a bird ring at Slade. but Slade is able to evade it and mocks Robin. So he begins to chase Slade once again, this time mixing in a few punches and kicks, in hopes of landing at least one. After he misses his attacks, Slade stops and tells Robin that he was the one who freed Cinderblock in order to get his attention, revealing the placement of 3 seismic generators all over the city, which are set to explode in 3 hours, triggering an earthquake that will destroy everything. Determined to defeat Slade there and then, Robin attacks him, but Slade manages to vanish to safety before the Titans show up, and Robin is given the chance to warn the Titans of Slade's plan. So as 3 of the Titans set out to locate the seismic generators, they report back to Robin that they weren't able to find anything, but Robin tells them to keep looking, even regretting sending them instead of searching for them himself. And while walking with Starfire in the woods, he randomly takes off, revealing that Slade is still there waiting for him. So Robin confronts him directly again, but this time Slade fights back, landing every single hit on Robin. But as soon as Starfire shows up, Slade takes off, and Robin yells at Starfire to stop him, but Slade manages to run past her and disappears. And as Robin begins to get on Starfire for letting him run free, Starfire tells him that she didn't see anyone, and this shocks Robin. So Starfire ends up regrouping with the Titans after this incident, explaining that Robin was going to look for Slade himself, so they set out to try to find their leader. While they're in search for him, we see Robin at an abandoned factory, just walking around the area until he spots Slade from the reflection of a mirror, and Robin starts running after him, but is unable to pinpoint his exact location, and Slade taunts him with his voice as Robin fails to catch up to him, even almost hurting himself in the process. Haunted by the voice of Slade in darkness, Robin decides to lift the switch for the lights, but is met with disappointment, and at this point, Slade reveals himself momentarily and informs Robin of his cloaking technology, which was the reason he was able to run past Starfire. And Robin tries to attack him, but Slade just dodges everything and runs off again, until he decides to stop to let Robin catch up to him, allowing him to make the first move again. But Slade hits him back after dodging Robin's attacks, mocking him once again. But this time Slade doesn't run, he stays there and throws back, repeatedly attacking Robin over and over, genuinely just beating him up. And I mean, look at this, Robin is trembling, he can barely get up, but it doesn't matter, Slade is still not finished. So as Robin is getting pummeled, the Titans finally find the location with the help of a tracker, and they run in after they hear one of Robin's screams. They are able to find Robin, but when they shine a light on him, they see him, and only him, getting punched around, and they are caught by surprise when Robin yells out Slade. So Starfire charges up one of her starbolts and lights up the area, further angering Robin, but they confront him this time, even questioning his initial claim that Slade was still alive. And although Robin tells him that Slade is still out there and the severity of his injuries, they just can't seem to rationalize his mentions. They tell him Slade couldn't have gone past them since they were standing near the entrance the entire time. But Robin dismisses them. Determined to still find the generators, he makes his way out until Cyborg steps in his way, telling him there aren't any generators and there is no Slade, and this just angers Robin. He backs up and warns them that he'll take down anyone who gets in the way of him and Slade, and he is forced down by Starfire, who had to temporarily knock him out for his safety and theirs. This episode was probably one of the more crazier ones. I mean, Robin's mental and physical state were both destroyed in one night. And I remember when I watched this as a kid for the first time, I didn't know what was going on. At first I thought the Titans were crazy, and then I thought Robin was crazy. It was just a whole lot of confusion and I just couldn't wrap my head around it. Well guys, it looks like that'll be it for today. And I told you guys I'll be uploading longer videos, so let me know in the comments what cartoons or other episodes you want me to cover. But make sure you like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Later.